Okay, so back again. I lost a bunch of material, but I ran out of room on my phone, so I corrected that again. Anyway, the topic of war. Okay, so let's just sort of approach it from the home front. Okay, but again, talking back to the last video, you should check it out. Part one of war and immigration. I think I entitled it something like it makes no sense, but that's how we do things. War and immigration makes no sense, but that's how we do things. Let's talk about the home front and what war serves to do on the home front. War is not about benefiting other countries necessarily. It's about benefiting the rulers that are raping a country of its resources and any power that's required to do that. Um, uh, and ultimately creating circumstances that allow them to compound the yield of that effort and those interests. Okay, so before I get into that, let me just say I also don't follow war, not only for the traumatic reasons that I mentioned in the last video, but also because I don't know, once it gets started, war generally in this day and age, war generally becomes a total shit show. Okay, who knows what's going on? You have reporters coming in and saying this is happening, that's happening, this is why this happened, that's why that happened. They try to explain the rationale, the logic, and the propaganda machine starts coming from all directions. And we all get little bits of information. I follow some of it. I try to get some bit of an idea of what's happening, but ultimately I'm pretty sure that I don't know what's happening. And a lot of the time, what really gets lost in it all is a sense of really what interests are at play and why decisions are ultimately made, right? They play it like these are interests of like populations of people that are somehow clashing, as though these conflicts are somehow not necessarily the result of ruling powers that preside over those countries, either because they agree or because they don't. Maybe they're in cahoots and this war has a shared benefit to the ruling elite. Who knows? On both sides, they don't mind mashing up their people and the war toys they have together in order to create a benefit that might be actually lucrative to all of the wealthy classes involved on either side of the conflict. We don't know, right? So we don't know what really the interests are at play that are moving these pieces on the chessboard of war. We don't really understand that. We don't know. So I tend to not, and even if we could presume good faith, we can't. We have the problem of not necessarily having good intel. Being subject to just the propaganda that might have to be put in place or that they are putting in place one way or another or for whatever reason. To have that kind of information, takes a lot, and I don't have it. And so I generally don't follow war that closely. I don't like it. I have a general sense of it. But let's talk about, back to the point, war on the home front, okay? This is really what I want to talk about. So I talked a ways into it and then I lost the footage, but let's just look at it from the point of view of the valley of death. So when we have a corrupt and evil leadership, okay, run by a tribal satanic order or something like it, okay, they create something like a valley of death, like hunters overlooking a valley that they tend in order to encourage feeding, encourage people to come in and move into the valley and live there and grow there and engage in activities, okay? They do that because when we start to build, there all of a sudden is a growing value that we create that then they could come in and seize upon, right? They seize upon it. And they seize upon it by divorcing us from those properties, those assets, and then they claim them. Usually at a pittance of what they're worth so that they can sell it at more than what it's worth. That's their goal, right? They artificially create excessive booms and busts through gouging. Government doesn't need to allow gouging. It does allow gouging. the inflation that occurs, it's now an international problem, but these are countries conspiring together to allow it. Just like they could be conspiring to allow in war to create profits, they could be conspiring in economy to allow for massive inflation. If everyone got together in a united front, they could try to oppress the private industry's will to gouge. They won't do that. They will not do that. Because the people that rule these countries the world over are not united in an effort for peace. They're united on the tribal Satanist front. View my other videos about tribal Satanism, okay? They're all playing the same game. Lying, cheating, stealing, killing, right? The chieftains keeping the horde and doing whatever they can to control and oppress the other tribesmen, right? So they artificially create and exacerbate conditions that lead to, highly fluctuating booms and busts, because at the low side of it, people are losing their homes, okay? At the low side of it, their employers that had, a lucrative business are falling out and falling into ruin, so they all lose their jobs, okay? That leaves the assets that they held, their homes or whatever, they get dropped out, into the field, and now they're open to be seized in estate sales and what have you. And then they've got their bankers' friends calling their buddy up, either at the mutual fund house, or the brokerage. They're calling up their buddy, the lawyer, who seems to get them out of every jam and out of pittance too. They call up, their politician friend. They call up that last guy who gave them a real good tip on an investment or a seizure or some kind of this or that. Gave them an inside line on an insider trading point. And in that way, they consolidate wealth, they consolidate power. It's a conspiracy between banking, international economics, politics, right? They're rich as hell. And there are a number of powerful positions that ultimately, make up, I'm sure, what is the ruling class of people, how they do things. So, what do we see here? How does this sort of play into war? Okay, so this is going on the whole time. Ultimately, they're looking to jack up the value. They got to jack up the value on those homes. So one of the things, they buy them up at a pittance when it's sold at an estate sale. Maybe they're being told, look, you could get this out on the market. You could sell it for 2.5, but we'll sell it to you right now for 500 grand. Sell it for 2.5 million. Buy it right now for 500 grand. The guy who had the mortgage was paying $950 on it. So it goes like that. This sort of thing. Look, they need to constantly, they allow for the gouging to occur. The government doesn't come in and force companies to make their books public so that they can see, well, are they gouging or aren't they gouging? I want to know. They don't, put any stop in place. They don't punish them for gouging when they do gouge. They don't create any laws against it. There are a number of things they don't do. They can try to flatten it out. They don't. So, in addition to that, what they need is, regardless of how badly they're abusing everybody, because like I said, they're riding in. And they're devastating people. They're devastating people. But regardless of how cruel their treatment might be of people, they want lesser working standards. They want, lesser access and tenure of securities. They don't guard your private housing. They could easily say, look, primary residential housing, your home cannot be seized by the government or the bank at any time. It's an essential security required for your life. Given that, that's the case and we owe it to you by law, what are we going to do? We can't take that away from you. We take away your fundamental security, the roof over your head. That's like killing a man. It's the same as murder. How can a state do that? I could see how they'd come in on a secondary property, a rental property. Yeah, send the state in, seize it. They owe money. They're not paying taxes. Take it. But on a primary residential, your house where your family lives? Who gets to knock on that door without a gun in their face when they open it up? Oh, we're coming to steal your house. Oh, look, you're coming to eat a bullet. How does that work? Yet they allow it. It shouldn't be allowed. There are things they can do, but they don't do it. They don't observe a lawful disposition towards rule and an acknowledgement of the rights of the people because they're trying to pillage. It's a pillage system. It's a terrorist pillage system. They deprived you of those securities. They deprived you your rights. Any acknowledgement of government responsibility to ensure your safety and your security. Okay, look, see my last videos too on veganism is humanitarianism. We talk a little bit about some of that too. All my videos you should probably watch if you're interested in these topics. Okay, so valley of death. We're all living in a state of fear. Any one of us could be homeless and left for dead at any time. In a civilization, in a modern civilization. Ooh, wow, modernity. It's so great. Everyone should be like us. What, like a bunch of fucking evil, backstabbing, tribal fucking vampires who eat our own? Cannibal fucking core? Nonsense. It's nothing to emulate. So, war, how does it work? Well, I mean, you can probably see. Oh, it just bothers me so much. I did a whole thing before talking about the rishis too in India. Maybe we'll talk about it again because let's talk about India. Let's talk about it. Okay? Well, how does the international order come into play? We talked about how, look, this is a global sort of conspiracy in a lot of ways, economically speaking, politically speaking. What's another great way to demonstrate that? Well, I don't know. The fact that, look, the overtaking of fundamental securities in a country is made possible by international conspiracy. So a government allowing foreign investment into a country in order to buy up all residential properties, primary fundamental securities, when they don't even live here, all they're going to do is rent. They're just going to rent to people, and they're going to extort rents so high that people can't even afford to rent. Maybe some of the rich kids that are coming in on a foreign study visa or whatever, they can rent at a high price, but they're all rich kids. Have you ever seen how much it costs to go study at a university as a foreign student? It's obscene. It's obscene. And they're renting these buildings bought up, or these residential properties bought up by rich people in Saudi Arabia or India or France. Where, it doesn't matter where. France, England, it doesn't matter who owns it. They don't live here. How do the housing securities hold up? How do we have the resources necessary to provide to people when the openness of the market in a competitive free market is opened up to the entire world as a bidding field? You will never be able to ensure Canadians can outbid the rich from the world, the entire world, every other country in the world. It's impossible. Canadians are going to lose all the housing, and we're going to end up with the richest people in the entire world winning all the bidding wars. A house that's worth 500 grand is going to be worth 6 million. It makes no sense whatsoever. And it's ultimately because we've got an evil ruling cabal that are behind the scenes. They've created a false politic and a false idol of themselves. And they've got you going to the political system unquestioningly and casting your lot and giving your money to them unquestioningly. without holding them to the task of actually guarding life. You always have them distract you in a million different ways as they bribe you with this or that or whatever, the prospect of this or that whatever, and you take your eye off the prize, the life. Instead, give what should be going to the poor and helping the poor and securing life and everything else over to some false idol and some creep behind it, like a little rishi at the rishi temples, behind all the idol, taking everything that you're giving them. Look at the lavish temples that they have in India. It's obscene. How could you justify those ornate, handcrafted, hand-carved temples, gilded, golden, when you got a bunch of starving people on the street? Look into the story of Shiva and the Shiva Lingam and the rishis and Shiva the Digambara, okay, as he met the rishis. I mean, they don't call them rishis for nothing. It's the rich. It's a scam. It's still going on. This old fundamental kind of ideas brought up in some of the world's oldest traditions and religions. It's a religion that, is corrupt because it has been overtaken by the corrupt, but it still has the earmarks to warn you, tell you about the corruption. Some good stuff in there, but it's still a mess. Just like India's a mess. I relate to India because I'm a vegan and they're vegetarians over there. Some, but it's going the way of the dodo bird mostly. Look, they still got their fist up the cow's ass. False, insemination. Turning the babies into burgers. Turning, the mothers into atrocities. They're the land of ahimsa? No, they're not. There's a movie, a documentary called India, the land of ahimsa? ? Spoiler, it isn't. Their religion is not worth anything. It does not achieve principle. It doesn't guard life. So, look, I digress. The rich. Okay, now I segued into India. The first time I went through this was so much smoother, man. I did a much better job describing most of this stuff. Let me check, see if I'm still rolling. I am. Okay, so why India? Well, most people know that since the pandemic and other thing, the state ordering people to get out of work and then they lose their homes and stuff like this. Meanwhile, they're inviting in countless immigrants to come in and buy shit up. Foreign investment through the roof. One thing that we can notice right now, okay, while we're on the topic of India, if you go to Walmart right now, it's entirely brown. It's an entirely Indian workplace. Okay? Representative workplace? I don't think so. Maybe you'll find one white guy, one token white person in there. We had no people from India before. We had a relatively representative workplace. Maybe one, an Indian person, a couple Indian people, this type of person, that type of person, this race, this ethnicity, that ethnicity. Now we're 100% fucking Indian people. All of this major box store. All of this major box store. Someone let someone from the immigrant community into a management position and they liquidated everybody who wasn't Indian. It's like you'd go to Toronto and you'd see an Indian family buy a gas station and then all of a sudden there's no more representation in the gas station. It's all Indian. Oh, hi. All Indian people now. Zero workplace representation. Where's the law? Where's the state coming in on that going, hey, why is everybody in here from the same race and ethnicity? We don't like that in this. What about the law in this country? Where did the labor standards go? Where did every government effort to ensure, where it happened to the charter? Now, I'll tell you what happened to the charter. It doesn't bind private institutions. It only binds the state, the government. If you didn't know that, spoiler. I learned that through legal efforts. The Canadian government told me, specifically in writing, that it only binds the state. So if you're going to get services or whatever, or dealing with a government office, then you have the Charter rights protecting you. Otherwise, they're up your ear and out the other side. Doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. I say it like this. I mean, the places that do have some white people in there, and I'm just saying, I'm not like particularly crushing on white people. It's just that we have been a country that had a lot of Caucasian people. They had those jobs, were in those jobs to a sufficient degree before the invasion. And trust me, I'm not some weird replacement theory whack job. But what has happened is, those people were not moved somewhere to some greener pastures, okay? It's not they're like, oh, well, all your jobs, I'm sorry, you're going to lose them. But don't worry, there's a green pasture over there, we're going to move you over there, you're all getting raises and you're all going to get a free house. No, I guarantee you that's not what happened. They took those jobs, they forced those people out. Now, war. Let's talk about it. That looks like war, doesn't it? We were invaded. Everything that we had, our jobs, our livelihoods, our security is threatened. Who knows what happened? Did they lose their homes? Did they lose their apartments? What the fuck happened? How were they fired? To cover up the fact that it was unjust and there was a fucking tribal takeover, were they denied employment insurance, EI? When they tried to report, I don't know what happened. I was not, I was just doing my job. And they're like, tell me what happened. You got to tell them what happened to get EI. If they don't agree with why you were fired, you don't get shit for supports, which means you are getting zero, which means you are fucked big time and could lose everything right there and then. Mortgage come up, sorry, I got nothing. Rent comes due, sorry, I got zero. Then what? Then what happens to those people? All those people who had those jobs, where the fuck did they go? They were completely taken over by India. And India's a massive country. They, like the Arab people, never stop fucking. It doesn't matter what happens. They reproduce like crazy. It never matters what the conditions. They fucking do it. That is a cultural and a demographic fact. Go look at it. Go look at their fucking numbers for population and population growth. And then look at their fucking cultural underpinnings for that type of decision making. It's not random. It's cultural. Kind of like in the beginning of the West here. There was a culture of something like Judaic, it wasn't. It was a Catholic sort of idiom that told them that the Bible insisted that they go and be fruitful and multiply. So all these initial settlers and peasants and all these initial pioneers just started like having kids like crazy. If they were worried not to, they had this in their ear to tell them, okay, well, we should just have 10 kids. No securities, Wild West, but have 10 kids. This is how we do these things. So it looks like war. Well, what does it have to do with war? Well, let's talk about it. Okay? The worse you treat... See my last video. I was talking about the state's inherent responsibility to the patriot, the people. Let me see if I'm still running. I don't like using a cell phone for these things. They've got an inherent responsibility at law to provide for your life and basic securities, but they keep wanting to offer you less, decreasing workplace standards, decreasing pay. They want to steal your house. They want to jack the rent. The valley of death. They don't care if you end up homeless and die. They don't care. They have a million different rhetorical arguments. The propaganda is spitting a million different poisons in your ear to overlook the plight of your brother as he dies on the side of the road. When you should be like, how in this rich country can anyone die on the side of the road? This is unacceptable. How could the state allow it? No, always this, he's that, he's mentally ill, always been lazy, that chick's a slut, that's what happens when you cheat on your husband, all these different reasons. Some people are just unlucky. Oh, he's a loser. Oh, he's a loser. What are we going to do? Pay for all the losers? What are there? There may be like 300,000 of them in the whole fucking country. Yeah, you should fucking create a housing complex to take care of. Yes! Put a fucking roof over their head. I go into other videos and we'll talk about how I, mentioned how maybe some of that housing would look like. I mentioned it briefly in an Idle Horse Sacred Cows video. But war is done, obviously. I mean, this is not controversial. You couldn't explain it otherwise, okay? To create a pump for human resource, right? Human population, to get people running into your country at a time when, why would people want to live there? Because, look, your own people are not even reproducing. They're being treated so bad. They're feeling so insecure. They've got no place to go, no place to rest, any sense of confidence and trust. They're not reproducing. They don't want to have kids. Look at the Generation Z, or whoever, these new kids that are around. Look at the millennials. They don't want to have children. They're living with their parents. That means the population's going to take a shit. Boomers and everyone else laughing as they take their doggy treat from the neolibs and the conservative fascists, as they turn a blind eye to the politics required to save their fucking children, to guard their securities, to put a stop to the vampire class of extreme exploiters and abusers that are leaving their kids in the lurch. They did not maintain the strong fighting ethic of the World War II greatest generation types that started to create those securities, and so they were lost. And secure those securities. They were lost because the barons took them over again. So, decreasing population, but that's not good for profits. They can't keep asking for higher and higher rent prices. They can't have increasing shareholder values that are dependent on increasing sales, on and on and on and on and on, right? They can't keep bidding up houses unless there are more people coming in that, are willing to bid up a value instead of having house value crashing because people are saying, I don't want it, and they're stuck holding assets on their books that are costing them every day in taxes that are not paying off, rent that's not coming in. They need more and more people. So what is the fiendish, evil, satanic state's motive? Well, we want to get these patriots off the books that we're responsible for. Like I said, at law, they have a responsibility to care for the people on the land. Under a state of dominion, they pulled those people out of nature. Now out of a state of nature, the government at law has a fucking responsibility to protect and sustain their life. At a basic level. It's not communism, it's not socialism, it's the basic contract that's struck between a dominion and the person at law living at any level on the program that the people in government had outlined for people instead of them creating value for themselves in the wild and hoarding it, keeping it unto themselves at all times, at 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-years-old, 12, 13, 14, 19, instead of doing that, instead of sitting in a fucking chair at school doing and becoming the sort of person, doing the things they want, becoming the sort of person that they said they needed you to be for their private profiteers and their state actors. They have a responsibility towards those people, those native people, those people born in the country. So what do they want? They plan on treating people worse and worse, less and less wage, less and less work standards. They do not want to allow you the security of your home. They want to steal it. And then when you go to get an apartment, maybe they won't give it to you because guess what? They're going to jack the rent. You think that the people in government don't own fucking rentals ever? Go check it out. They do. You think they don't have multiple properties on the books that they're waiting, holding it not as a fundamental security that provides shelter or some kind of a living value to your life? No, holding it in commerce as though they should even be allowed to hold it in commerce when other people fucking don't have roof over their heads to keep their ass out of the rain. It should be absolutely illegal for them to hold fucking secondary, third properties, whatever, fourth, fifth, whatever, rentals that they don't fucking even make available at a very cheap price for people. They're holding this and holding it in commerce, waiting for the market to fucking do this or that. Speculators. But they do. So be sure, what are they trying to do? They're trying to kill off the people that they have a responsibility for, the patriots. We know they are. They're letting them die on the street. They needed housing. Did Trudeau or the Liberal government or do the Conservative governments ever expropriate properties from the rich and then just take it over and then give those apartments to the people? Have the government pay for it or write it off? No, they fucking don't do that. They do not expropriate. That's the easy answer. That's what you got to do to save them right now. They never do it. If the government was going to build an easement on your property, run a fucking culvert, change the path of a creek, you wouldn't have a choice. If it ran through your property, they'd buy your fucking house and it wouldn't be even a question. You're selling it and they'll tell you how much they'll pay. Let me check the video. The government knows how to solve shit like that. They do it all the time. If they had another agenda, it was on their fucking plate and that's what they wanted, you would be out of that fucking house and they'd fix it. They'd give you a very reasonable price for your property, not anything that would be bid up by a crazy person. And then they'd take it and you'd go bye-bye and you'd be happy about it because you don't have a fucking choice. You telling me they can't do that with secondary properties held by rich people or fucking landlord, private, profit-based holdings? Give me a fucking break. They are in cahoots with those landlords. And they are those landlords and those fucking speculators. They're letting people die. They could do that. They don't do it. What was I going to say? That always upsets me when I think about that. Because it's fucking, they're being bribed. They're not only bribed, they are in a position of conflict of interest so fucking severe, so criminal, that they should be lined up in front of a ditch and fucking done away with themselves. They're mass fucking murderers, knowingly, ongoingly, in front of everybody, and everybody's so brainwashed they don't call them out. We should be banding together like a fucking herd of vegetarian animals, protecting ourselves from fucking predators that are on the fucking ridge, waiting to come in and fucking take us all by the throat. That's how we survive this shit. That's what our politics should be about. Not parroting any of their bullshit or fucking mealy-mouthed way, fucking saying the things that you think's gonna get you the doggy biscuit that they're offering as a pittance in an election, instead of the fucking raging fucking politic that we should be bringing to their doorstep that should be making them quiver in their beds on the verge of shitting their pants every fucking night, us knowing what they're doing while our men die. Now to war. What do you think they're doing? They want to get rid of our fucking patriots because they're responsible for them. They can't get rid of them by exporting them away. You bring immigrants in on a whim. Oh, well, we wanted you. Oh, now we don't want you. Looks like we did the wrong thing. We're sending you home. Get out of here. There we go. No more responsibility for the government. You're not from here. What do I care? Thank you very much for the slave labor. Thanks for picking those strawberries out of pittance. It wasn't even minimum wage. We couldn't get a local guy to do that. It's absolutely fucking criminal. Thank you, India. Thank you, Providence. Isn't it ironic It's like rain on your wedding day. Can't do that to homegrown patriots. You can't export them. There's only one way to get rid of them. Like it always was in tribal Satanism, you gotta kill them. You gotta fucking kill them! And that's what they're doing. So at a time in a housing crisis, fucking Trudeau brings in an army of immigrants. Fucking Arabs and Indians. A fucking army of them. They take over in all of Walmart. Go to Walmart in this town, every single one. It's like I said, you got some places that understood what was going on, and it creates a racial division. One place, they're across the street from one another. It's so crazy to see. One business, they're both box stores. I call it a cream dream. It's like, a 50s fucking Klansman wet dream for employment. It's just like a bunch of people like walking around. It's like, 1950s white picket fence, Aryan fucking cream dream in there. There's not a brown soul to be seen. And normally I would be like losing it. Like, what's wrong with this place? There's no workplace representation at all. You go to Walmart, it's brown fucking ceiling down. It's Brown Town. Not a single look, there's not a single person who isn't from India in that fucking place. And there are a lot of places that are like that now. Many in most places. You'll be hard pressed to find people who speak competent English. Where did everyone else go? Where did everyone else go? They're getting the fucking bum's rush, and that means that they're not paying the rent. They're not getting the mortgage paid. Who knows what? They could be dead right now. Because it was an invasion. It wasn't just a few extra people. It was a lot. Where did they all go? All those jobs are gone. All of them. They didn't get fucking promoted. To where? They didn't all of a sudden simultaneously create a bunch of fucking upper middle class jobs for these fucking Walmart workers to occupy based on what? What, they'd get a call, oh, we're going to fire you, but we're also giving you a job as a fucking consultant at a trade firm. Oh, no, we're also going to be giving you a job as an activity coordinator at this local NGO. Maybe it starts as a contract, but it can segue into permanent full-time. Pay starts at $70,000 a year. Don't worry, you won't miss your Walmart fucking... You know what I mean? Cashier job. They have been slaughtering patriots. These people come in and they accept all manner of who knows what kind of treatment on the job. Now, I'll tell you right now, they're probably not arguing within the context of Labor Standards Board and whatever else, Human Rights Code and Tribunal and everything else that might keep this country safe. You think they're going to be making a big huff when they're in here on a workplace visa and one day too much noise, the wrong way, the wrong direction, they're heading on the boat home? Probably not. And when the country is through with them, if they're through with them, they just send them home. They don't want to be on the hook long term for any kind of economic commitment to those people. They break it up. They break up the period wherein they might all of a sudden be held accountable at law, send them home for a while, no more responsibility, and then maybe they'll invite them back again when it won't entail a lawful responsibility to them. So like I said, it's like a war is a pump. They need to create a fucking chaos so bad, a bloody chaos so bad. See my first video. In some random fucking country to create a terror so severe that they come fucking flocking out of that country like it's on fire, because it literally is coming to this land to do whatever the fuck they're told on whatever pretense or deal they're given. And then that gives them the opportunity, the state and the private industrialists, to exploit them as almost like slave labor. They'll take any kind of treatment. They throw everybody else out. the locals that the government's responsible for. And because there is such an economic outcry and crisis to begin with, those people fall through the cracks and the government can eradicate them. Because the only way to get rid of them is through death. So like I said, the satanic tribalists war abroad, they war within. They're at war with their external people, whether they're actually enemies or not, with external nations, and they're at war with their own. That's what capitalism is. That's what what conservative is, neoliberalism. It's fascism. It's tribal Satanism. It's based on lies, murder, and pillage. I got some. Let's see if I got through most of this. I didn't talk about this the way I wanted to, but let's just. So, let's talk about the inherent insanity of that. What is the justification for war? Okay. So you might argue, well, the purpose of going to war, there are a couple reasons. One is that you have a grassroots tyranny, okay? And it's some kind of a grassroots cabal. Maybe it's warlords or whatever. They're insane, they're evil, they're corrupt, they're terrorizing the people, okay? So let's imagine there's a way to go to war with them and fix all of this. There might be a way to do it, but I'll tell you right now, most people would agree that simply dropping massive bombs on a fucking entire community of people, wiping out probably more innocent people than the enemy, probably 70% innocent people to maybe 30% the enemy, is not the fucking answer at war. Why go to war at all if that was the best outcome you had? To liberate the people. So you can argue for liberation. Well, the point of war is to liberate people. They're subject to a grassroots tyranny. Well, you're not a better actor. You're not a higher angel, a better angel of humanity's better nature and will if your answer to that is just flatten the entire living population, all the innocent people, put an end to their woes by simply eradicating their life. I don't buy into that. In some instances, as horrible as it might be better than allowing the life to continue under that tyranny. But under most circumstances, unless you could be sure that it could never be justified that you drop a fucking massive bomb on innocent people. So this idea of liberation is an argument. But let's go deeper. Security. You could argue that our state, that country is so out of control, it's growing in evil, it's growing in economic purchase and power, it's growing in political influence, its evil is in the minds of the people that it influences and controls and what have you. So vile, it's a threat to our country. We've got to stop them here and now, lest they take over our country, right? Oh my God! Well, that scares you, doesn't it? That could be a cause for war, isn't it? Let me check the camera again. Well, sure, but that fucking explanation really falls to pot once you realize that the simultaneous action on the part of the state that just warred with that country on the basis of securing your own borders against them throws open the fucking gates of its borders and then takes the outflow of fucking people running from the war into its own fucking country. So does the security argument stand? Fucking no, it does not. You telling me they properly vetted every single one of those immigrants? I don't think so. If the country was so out of hand that you had to bomb the thing into a fucking crater, odds are you can't just throw open the gates of your own country and claim that security is the thing motivating your behavior. There's got to be something else. And I'll tell you what it is. It's exploitation of human capital, like we've been talking about. And the creation not only of a holocaust abroad, but of one on your own soil, like I said, as the immigrants replace, in all effective ways, the homegrown patriots who are being pushed out into insecurity and falling into their death as a consequence of the contingencies associated with that state abandonment and sabotage. So war is like a pump that injects human capital. So, security versus exploitation. What do you think's driving war? What do you think's driving war? Security or exploitation? Are we more secure for these wars? Are they more secure over there for these wars? Or is this an exploitation racket? So they come in desperate, we take them in, and we treat them as slaves. And they're under a threat. They don't want to leave. They might not like how it's here, but over there they're going to die. So they'll take whatever, and the state will find a way to cut them loose and avoid being responsible for them in a way that they otherwise would have been responsible for the patriots that they've betrayed. And look, they do not take another approach of war. They don't just go in teams and covertly or discreetly or heroically start sorting out a country mostly. They just bomb. People run, ah! Another reason why I don't like talking about the wars going on. Because, what are you to say? It's a shit show. It's a shit show. And it's all propaganda, explaining this, that, whatever thing. Yeah, okay, I'll have to take your word for it. Let me see what else to say. I was going to say, make sure I cover most of this. Like I said, it's not a topic I really like talking about, so let's just kind of flip through it here. There could be less violent means of change. They don't end up going that way. Why? We talked about the need for liberation. Yeah, a world so dangerous we gotta bomb everybody, and yet, simultaneously, here we go, come on in. What? So, it forces population growth required for the capitalist class to continue to increase production. Or increase, maybe not production, but sales. Sales increase because there's more people. There's more likely some people there that are going to be able to afford higher prices. Whatever, stockholder prices go up. And like I said, with everything else, they can cause these things to go up. But they need more people. And better that they have more people that they don't feel responsible for. Sorry, I did not sleep last night. So anti-war humanitarianism is ultimately the answer to the law. It's the direction towards law that we need to go. But, we have to understand the tyranny of certain ideologies, no doubt. But look, in the politics that we see today as it runs our country, they don't have a moral pulpit from which to stand and speak. They're as bad as anybody. Obviously, Trudeau he was talking about what he did with immigration. It's so bad, how the housing crisis or whatever. It's like, how could you ever justify doing that? Oh, we got it wrong. We imported more people by far than any homes that were available. But we hope to catch up. There's no catching up, dude. What happened to all these people that are out of luck with the homes? What happened to them? What happened to them? Where did they go, Trudeau? They don't have 10, 20 years for you to build a fucking bunch of homes. Where are they? What happened to them? So we do have a grassroots tyranny. How do we get rid of them? How do we get rid of the likes of Trudeau and Polyev and everybody else who are responsible for the extermination of our fellow patriots? Is there a plan that we have? Should we consider war? I don't like talking about war. What do you guys think? Okay. Jeez, like what kind of notes? Kill all patriots for which government has responsibility. Like who has to write this shit? Yeah, I don't know, man. What do you guys think? You know, comment below the video. No one's gonna comment. I've got like 8 views on any given video. Comment if you want. I want to wrap this up here. Workplaces tend to be segregated between cream dreams and brown towns. That's a true statement. Maybe I'll do a video, I'll walk through these establishments. You're going to be like, what country is this in? And I'll say, you tell me what country it is. Yeah. So, what do you guys think? What do you think war is about? Do you think it's about security? Do you think it's about liberation? Or do you think there's something more going on akin to something like extreme exploitation and something like corralling human capital? You know, taking advantage of the military-industrial complex, having a reason to constantly produce in the extreme through the military-industrial complex, justifying investment in that industry, you know, spurring its growth in its more, you know, brutal and ravenous nature. You think, what are they going to do? Sit on all those? They're going to use all those bombs and create a more pressing need to have them. Everyone's going to buy them. It's going to fuel the wars. They use the wars to pump the human capital. They get, you know, slaves, and state now does not have to be as fully responsible. They have schemes to avoid it. Kill the homegrown patriots. Do you think we could afford, do you think we can survive not getting our act together politically? I don't think we can. I'm tired. I haven't slept in a couple days. But I said I would do a video if it came to me to do a video and do some brief notes and do it. So here I did it again. I didn't do it as nicely the first time, but that's because I was hours less into what is an insomniac, double night, all-nighter sort of thing. But you kind of get the idea of what I'm saying. War, okay? I don't want to like talking about it much. But I think we've got to understand it at least this well as a question. Is this going on? Is this the nature of the game? Is this how it's happening? What are we going to do? We need to act as a herd, as herd animals. And we got to get together and we got to throw our fucking weight around against these predators. These lean vampire fucking predators who think they're smarter than us. We got to show them that we can get down to and understand fundamentals too and fight for our lives. We've got to get together around principles, around claims, inherent claims required to live, and we've got to support everybody. Everybody's got to be in and protected in those claims, and we got to fight for any one of them. We got to all fight together. For any one person that might be picked off by them, a couple of them straggling, we got to fucking get together and get in there and fight for him, chase them, fuck them up. We cannot allow them to take out our weak, our desperate, our needy. We can't afford it because next thing it's coming for us. Like I said, it's an international conspiracy among the rich, and they will open up the gates of competition and pressure to the whole fucking world. There's not a state, a country in this world that can compete against the entire world. And that's always available to them in their global conspiracy. What do I mean? Governments and peoples, a wealthy class conspiring, if not by direct conspiracy, then by a simple generalized politic. And the available opportunities that emerge as a result of state actors making certain things possible when they should be making them illegal, because they're unlawful. They will run a fucking game on our lives. We'll end up dead. We will end up dead. Despite years of dutiful and honorable patriotic service, they will fucking wipe us out. They are soulless, heartless bastards. I'll get into my spirituality. I'll get into my religion. I like to calm it down and take a breath and be more personal at that point. I like to enter into a more meditative and soulful state. I like to be more at peace with myself. I like to not be in such a conflict-laden way. But the other side of the spirituality is fight. You have to fight. Buddha wanted to put away the world, ignore the world. Well, he was also a fucking monarch. He was a monarch. Just like Jesus, if you read into it, probably a monarch. He was a monarch. Possibly son of Herod, if you're a reader and you're a thinker. You can read and you can think, which the Old Testament primes you to be able to do, which most people, when they pick it up, have not accomplished and hence can't fucking think and can't read. And the Jews were aware. They were fully aware of past traditions, like in particular Sanatana Dharma and Hinduism. They were aware. It's clear they were aware. It's in their scriptures. The understanding. So he was a monarch. He wanted to ignore the pressure of the world, the nature of the spirit. War, the nature of peace and natural claim and rights. He was happy to have everybody ignore that and pretend it didn't matter and didn't exist. Well, what about a God who actually cares about you and wants justice and wants vengeance for what the evil tribal Satanists have done to us? Don't you think we should accept it? How are we supposed to accept God? How are we supposed to have a relationship with God who actually loves us when you rebuke the nature of his love? How any loving father would feel towards his son so fucking betrayed and mistreated. Oh no, don't go to war for me. Don't get vengeance. Don't punish the enemy. Don't damn his soul to hell if that's what you... Don't do it. Don't do it. I don't care. I don't care. Oh, I'm damaged, I'm injured, I'm ripped apart. Oh, well, let me give you love. Let me give you care. Let me lavish you with peace and affection that you deserve. No, stay away. I don't want. Well, what the fuck do you want? Oh, I'm a slug, I'm a worm, I'm a little... Let me get out of here. Go out of here where? To get what? Well, what's God going to give you? Give me nothingness. I'm nothingness. I am everythingness. Well, what are you suffering or what? I'm not a person. Like, you are having a fucking breakdown, Buddha. You're going to have to stop being any kind of person at all, any kind of a sense of personhood. You're going to have to be of evolution to be able to appease and make sense of you. Maybe that's what you're looking for. Maybe that's what you're looking for. That's not what I'm looking for. And I'm not saying you can trust the spirit as such, because we have enemies in the spirit. We have enemies in the spirit. There are evil, vile and demonic influences who have still managed to survive into the next life. Many seem to have been eradicated, but some seems to have been, they're survived. They're still around. And they will help prop up the interests of the evil fascists and the Nazis and whatever. They help their evil people, and even an institution, get away with it. They help gang up on vulnerable people who are targeted by the Holocaust. It makes it more scary, and they try to kill themselves, or, I've mentioned that in other videos. We'll mention it more specifically when I talk about, in particular, the 27 Club, when I talk about, spiritual invasion, when I talk about gang stalking, when I talk about, criminal conspiracy among corrupt agents in, various institutions in a given town or city or whatever. They're politically united in a criminal organization. But for now, it's too much. Needless to say, look, We need to look at real fucking answers. You can't just play aloof. Buddha might have told you to be aloof, but that was only, even then, only really acceptable to you if you imagine you could go to a temple where they told you to do that and they gave you your nightie like I'm wearing right now and you had to wear it and you had your little rice bowl and you had to go beg and whatever else for your rice and you never wanted anything, you never asked for anything, you never fucking had a thought or asked for your rights or cared about your fate or anything like that. Everyone else who didn't get shackled to that kind of BS, what happened to them? I guess Buddha's not asking that question. He'd probably tell you to be a good boy and always be a good boy. Don't ask too many questions. Don't get greedy. So it does concern me. And these people's lives do matter, and we need to get our fucking politic together and not lose sight of what matters. Keep your eye on the fucking prize, and that's like a herd animal, okay? Moral vegan wonder. Let's band together. We're all in this together. Keep your eye out. What's going on over here? What's going on over there? You know, what the fuck is happening? Keep your eye open. You're over here, you're keeping your eye over your shoulder, over here looking for your brother, watching out for your brother. Who is that? Who is that over there? What the fuck's going on over there? Go handle it. Watch out. Hey, fucking buddy. We gotta behave like that. And we gotta know what the predators that are after us look like. Pierre Trudeau. Justin Trudeau. Polyev, okay? Even Jagmeet can't be trusted. He's too fucking mealy-mouthed. He's too weak on the most fundamental issues. He gets to some real stuff. He's maybe our only hope, but he's not much of a hope. He's not the leader of our only hope party the way he needs to be. I'm more like that guy, but they're never going to elect me. I don't even want to be in the same room as most of those monsters. I would want to fucking... how am I supposed to talk to people like that? They're responsible. They are absolutely every one of them responsible for fucking Holocaust. Anyway, I'll end it here, okay? Go bliss out and zen out if you want, but it is not going to change the nature of the crisis facing this world and the grave injustices that are happening to real people. Like I said in the first part one of this video, it's unthinkable what's happening to some people. Imagine a child seeing their whole family blown up in front of them. Could you imagine the fucking nightmare? They can never ever imagine, they can't even process. They're playing with fucking Tonka trucks and playing with fucking Barbie dolls one minute, and then the next minute, their whole fucking family explodes in front of your face. You get a God aware that you're telling me does not want fucking justice? Does not want someone to fucking pay for that? There's going to be hell to pay. And God saved those souls, those innocent souls that have been so badly abused and abandoned and destroyed by these vampire fuckers. We're going to talk about real faith and religion. We're going to talk about it. It isn't with the likes of all forgiving Jesus. Love your enemy, that satanic motherfucker. Or Buddha, oh, don't worry about it. Zen out, I'm a worm, I'm a gnat, I'm a this, I'm a that. Just whatever you do, do not ask the monarchy for fucking money so that you can have an apartment and some fucking meals without becoming a slave to a fucking temple. Who basically cuts your dick off and makes you live like a fucking living Q-tip. That's fine if it's your idea of a good time. It's no good when it's your only way to survive. Anyway, I'll end it there. Ha ha!